That's the reservoir, see? People jog around it, even in this weather. Crazy people. I should know I'm one of them. Well, I don't jog. I power walk, but I'm one of them. Christmas Day, monsoons, hurricanes, we're out there. Will thinks we're all insane. He says he watches us through that telescope and he laughs and laughs. I can see his point. From up here we all look like obsessive insects making our appointed rounds. Except that's all they are, is rounds. I mean, we're not going anywhere on the circle of fitness that other people aren't. We all end up in the same place. Will would say that's a metaphor and why he laughs. Will's a writer. Are you sure I can't take your coat, Mrs. Gerard?
I'm not staying.
Yeah, that view is pretty mesmerizing. I still pinch myself twice a day. The greatest city in the world, and it's right there. I don't have to do anything but look. It's mine for the taking. Andre would have loved this view. As they say about London, the man who would grow tired of this is a man tired of life. Can't I get you anything?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, this will amuse you. Interest you, anyway. Directly across the park from us, there is a legendary apartment house, 1040 Fifth Avenue. It's just by the museum. You see the obelisk? That's Cleopatra's Needle. Well, not really, but it's what they call it. And just beside it is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met. The other Met. To a West Sider, and you are on the West Side, the Met means the Metropolitan Opera, but to an East Sider it means the Metropolitan Museum. If you don't know this, an out-of-towner can end up looking at a Rembrandt instead of listening to Turandot. Anyway, I'm getting all tangled up in Manhattan Arcana here. We have a very good view of 1040 Fifth Avenue, where Jackie lived, Jackie O. Mrs. Onassis, Mrs. Kennedy.
I know who you're talking about.
Andre would have loved having it for a view. He worshipped her.
Didn't we all?
Can you imagine? He's waking up every morning, bounding into this room and waving across the park to her. Bonjour, Jackie. Ça va aujourd'hui? It would have been a ritual. I thought that might amuse you.
Very little amuses me, Mr. Porter.
It was an unfortunate word choice, I'm sorry. Please, call me Cal.
Who lives there now?
I don't know. Rich Republicans, I suspect. Since Mrs. Kennedy died, I don't think anyone knows or cares who lives at 1045th.
Sure, the people who live there care. How long have you had this place?
It's getting on to 9 years.
The last address I had for you was Perry Street.
85 Perry. Oh, that was a century ago. It was one room in the basement that had the building's only access to the furnace, which was always breaking down. I got quite friendly with the super that first winter. But things got better after Perry Street, but not much. We were young, poor, ready to take this city on. We were ready for anything. Well, we thought we were ready for anything. Are you sure you won't take your coat off?
I'm fine. I'll let you know when I'm not. I just stopped by on the off chance that you would be here.
Well, Somebody usually is. As I said, Will's a writer, and on the weekends, we're both sort of homebodies.
I got the address from your sister.
Penny? You've kept in touch?
Not really. Christmas cards. She gave me her unlisted phone number as well, but I figured if you went to the trouble to have an unlisted phone number, it was to avoid calls from people like me.
No, never, no. I'm very glad to see you. Actually, unlisted numbers are a New York fetish. Everyone has one. Our cleaning lady, our doorman, the super. One winter, Andre and I locked ourselves out, and we couldn't call anyone who might have a key. None of them had a listed number. We were frozen by the time we got back in.
Growing up, I used to daydream about a view like this.
Where was that?
Rye.
Rye, New York.
It's a small town, more of an enclave really in Westchester.
I know Rye. It's right next to Portchester, which is definitely not an enclave. I even know Rye Brook. I dated someone from Rye Brook. He never let me forget it. So, you know Mrs. Kennedy, and I know Rye Brook. Are you sure I can't get you something in this weather? Something to warm you up?
Before it gets too dark, where we had the,
The memorial?
can you see it from here?
You see the little bridge? That's the Bow Bridge. And just beside it is a lovely, smallish lawn area. Well, lovely, smallish lawn area 9 months of the year, and this is not one of them. It leads down to a duck pond. You see it?
I remember the ducks. They had a lot to say for themselves that day.
Yeah. You would have thought it was too cold to quack. It was 12 degrees, coldest day in years.
I've never been so cold.
We all stood there in a circle and spoke.
I was the only one who didn't.
I'm sure you weren't.
It didn't matter. Your friends said everything that could possibly have been said. They were quite impressive. I didn't know Andre had so many friends, and they were so eloquent.
And we were attracted to people with a sense of humor.
Yes, some of them were quite funny, but I wasn't prepared for the story about the two of you in a swimming pool in Mexico. It was a little all risque for my taste, at least. Blue humor and funerals are not something to which I'm accustomed.
It wasn't a funeral, Mrs. Gerard.
You know what I meant. The music at the church had set such a serious and thoughtful tone, almost spiritual. I wasn't ready for the transition to naked men in a swimming pool full of gardenias.
It was pretty funny.
I guess you had to be there.
Well, in this case, I'm very glad you weren't.
I couldn't get that one piece of music out of my head, the one the young woman sang. I even went into a music store and tried humming it to the clerk. Nada. He looked at me like I was crazy.
You should have asked. It was one of our favorites. It's by Mozart, from a little-known opera of his, Il Re Pastore, the Shepherd King. L'amero sarò costante. I will be constant in my love for you. I'll write it down for you. That same young woman is singing at the Met now, and quite successfully. Andre always predicted a big future for her. That, Cal, he would say, is a star.
If there are perfect moments, that was one of them. Naturally, I was disappointed to see the rest of the service descend to jokes.
It wasn't a service either, Mrs. Gerard. It was a remembrance of someone we all loved and would miss, and we still do.
What is that?
What? Where?
It looks like some sort of amphitheater.
Oh, that's called the Delacorte Theater. Free Shakespeare in the Park. With the windows open in the summer, we could hear them.
Is that where Andre...
Yes, where he played Horatio in the summer of 80, what? 8, 9?
I didn't come up that year. His father wasn't well.
It was the same summer he played Hamlet himself at another outdoor theater in Washington, D.C. They were practically back to back.
So where are you going?
The poster's in the hallway. I'll check.
No need. It's dark so early this time of year, and so fast. There's no dusk. It goes right from day to night before you realize it. There's no transition. I was just saying I almost missed this wonderful view of the park.
Well, I'm very glad you didn't. Yep, 1989, August 7th through September 3. You know, there is nowhere on earth hotter than an outdoor theater in Washington, D.C. in late summer.
Yes, there is. Dallas, Texas.
It's starting to show its age. They didn't print this on the best of stock.
Oh, you might have warned me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Would you like to sit down?
No, that's not.
I think you should.
What were you thinking?
Sorry, I wasn't.
We were just talking, and then all of a sudden, there he
I'm
was.
sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
I've always loved this poster. The pictures hanging in a hallway don't get looked at that often. Everyone's on their way to somewhere else. Sort of non-places in that way. There was a time it made me happy every time I looked at it. Of course, there was a time it made me very sad as well. I used to think maybe you should have it, but I never got around to sending it. Guess I was being selfish. Certainly captures so much about him. His passion, sure, his vitality. He was a very urgent person.
Yes. Yes, he was.
There was no stopping him. He's still the best Hamlet I've ever seen. We were both sorry that you missed it.
All right, I'm ready now.
You sure?
We'll see.
We don't have to do this.
It's all right, I know. That's him, all right?
He was taken at the moment when Hamlet is crying, "Vengeance!" His favorite moment in the play. Vengeance. Sword in hand. Photographer certainly captured him in full Andre splendor. Talk about eyes blaze. He's not too hard to look at either. I believe the expression is one handsome devil. Our boy asked me once, "Is that an old-time pirate?" I said, "No, honey. That was a wonderful Hamlet on his way to becoming a great one," which is more information than any 4-year-old knows or needs to care about.
Your boy?
We have a son. Didn't my sister tell you? It's all right. She didn't tell me he'd been in touch all these years either. I don't think he's looked at it once since then. When we first met, I thought Will might have a problem with it, but he's fine.
Will?
My husband.
Yes, you told me that.
Our son is 6. His name is Bud. And that is his real name. It's not a nickname for anything. I always loved the name Bud for a boy. Now it's got a little gravitas. It's on his birth certificate. Bud Ogden Porter.
Ogden Porter?
My husband's last name is Ogden. Will Ogden.
How easily you say that word, husband.
Not always. First couple times I tried to say it, nothing came out. I'd say, "This is my my your who? My you know, we got so used to boyfriends or partners all those years when marriage wasn't even a thought, let alone a possibility. It took me a while to realize we'd won. Our relationship was as legitimate as everyone else's. Andre would have said that it was internalized homophobia.
I'll pretend I know what that means.
It means you become so accustomed to being unloved because of who you are that you become adept at not loving yourself because of who you are.
I'll still pretend.
Andre and I were what was known as boyfriends then, or partners. Lovers was another word that people used, but we didn't like any of them. Boyfriends sounded like teenagers. Partners sounded like a law firm. Lovers just sounded illicit. They all seemed insubstantial, inadequate. Then along came that new but old and obvious name for it. It'd been there all along. Husband. Who'd have thought? I kind of like husband. I actually love it. Husband. You know, spouses is another word that people use, but it makes me a little queasy. You know, it seems too gender neutral and kind of embarrassed or kind of, you know, ashamed of the whole marriage thing. Now, husband, cuts to the chase. Have you met my husband? My husband and I are interested in a season subscription. The reservation is in my husband's name.
This has been very informative, Mr. Porter.
You do understand that husband wasn't a possibility then. Your son called me Cal. I called him Andre.
I would hope so. That was his name, chosen with great care.
I might have gotten in a honey or two over the years.
I don't like nicknames. Andre was a challenge for people that insisted upon them.
Well, you succeeded. He was always Andre.
I did something right.
Andre was a wonderful person, Mrs. Gerard. Everyone liked him.
This Mr. Your Mr.
Ogden. Will Ogden.
Are you going to tell him our little secret?
I didn't know we had one.
This visit.
Of course, we don't have secrets.
Everyone has secrets.
We don't.
How wonderful.
Besides, why would this be a secret anyway?
I was giving you an option.
An option not needed. And we're always off to a bad start.
Will you tell him I'm sorry I missed them?
Well, they're just in the park. They'll be back any minute. I would like you to meet them.
It's getting dark.
You said the days are short. You said so yourself. I mean, it's only, what, half past?
I'm glad you didn't give me the poster.
You are.
Rage and anger are not how a mother wishes to remember her son. I had enough of it without the poster.
He's playing a part in that picture. It's him, but it's not him. It's him as someone else.
We all play parts. Some of them we play for so long and so well, we become the parts. I'm Andre's mother. You won't let me be anything else. You can't. I can't either. You're Andre's friend. You can't be anything else.
You've gotten very good at playing those parts.
I was still a young woman when Andre died.
I realize that now.
Now,
Well, I'm about the same age you were when Andre died. I was cruel about age then. Most young people are. I judged you harshly. Too harshly, no doubt. We're still not the same age, but we're closer. Closer.
Thank you for not saying you and Mr. Gerard have your golden years ahead of you. Mr. Gerard passed at Easter.
You didn't know that?
You didn't ask, and there's no reason that you would.
I'm very sorry to hear it.
Everyone dies sooner or later, even 29-year-old, perfectly healthy, beautiful young men.
They shouldn't.
Maybe I'll go out and find myself a new husband and pick up where I left off and adopt a child and start a new family.
It was 8 years before I met Will, Mrs. Gerard.
Or maybe I'll just get it over with and jump out the window. I live in the tallest building in Dallas. That should do the trick. Thank you for asking, Mr. Porter. Andre's mother's doing just fine.
I am so sorry, Mrs. Gerard. How could I have known? Penny should have told me.
Penny didn't know. The morning paper said Mr. Gerard passed away after a long struggle with illness. I would have said after a disappointment in life, perpetual disappointment in life. He is survived by his wife, Catherine, a Yankee humdinger who never fit. His son, Andre, 29, died after a short struggle with a pesky summer cough.
Oh, thought that at first.
I never felt at home in Texas.
I don't think Andre did either.
I don't like gratuitous familiarity. How y'all doing today, darling? Y'all come back now, sugar, you hear? I never got accustomed to being addressed as sugar by the checkout girls, black or white. That's neither here nor there. This Mr.
Ogden, Will Ogden.
How long have you and Mr. Ogden been together?
It will be 11 years this summer.
And you and Andre?
We had 6 years together.
That many?
I wouldn't call 6 years many. Not when you plan to spend the rest of your life with someone. I think you should have the poster, Mrs. Gerard.
I wouldn't know what to do with it. I'm downsizing my things, my life, everything.
My father downsized when his lady friend passed.
His lady friend?
My mom passed when we were very young. I never knew her. Our father raised my sister and me. Then he met someone, a widow. Neither one of them thought it was that important to get married. And it rocked Bethel, New Hampshire. Anything would rock Bethel, New Hampshire. Andre and I sure did the times we visited.
Your father seemed like a very nice man.
Yeah, he still is. He's 75 and not going anywhere in the immediate future. His father made it to 91. He died tapping maple syrup.
I thought maple syrup was Vermont.
Everyone does. Maple syrup does not recognize state lines. Ours is better.
And what about your sister?
Penny is in Soho trying to start a family. She and her husband are having some difficulties getting her pregnant.
Christmas cards didn't mention that.
He's a Danish architect with a fairly unpronounceable name. Bjorn Bjerkenfjord.
Isn't anybody from New York anymore? In my day, everybody in New York was from New York. It's become a city of out-of-towners. My mistake was letting Mr. Gerard sweep me off to Texas. He said there were nice, cultured people there. He was wrong on both counts.
I like Austin and San Antonio. My work used to take me there.
I never understood what you did.
Andre didn't either. I'm a money manager.
That much I know.
Well, other people's money. It's very boring. I could tell you, I could explain it all to you, but it's very, very boring.
Thank you.
Yeah. when my own brief fling as an actor was all too apparently going to end in perpetual unemployment, I shocked myself and Andre and became a yuppie and surprised both of us at how good I was at it. But since Bud, I don't travel. That was non-negotiable. I used to have a lot of clients in the West Coast.
Looks like you've done very well for yourself. You've come a long way from Perry Street.
Yeah. Will's mother helped us out when the building went co-op.
Very generous of her.
That was Jean. We never got to pay her back. She died 3 months later.
I always told Andre the house in Dallas was his. He'd say, "Oh great, you can wrap it up and send it up east." He'd be very sarcastic.
I know.
He used to like to tell people that he went straight from high school graduation to the Trailsway bus line to New York City on his savings. It's just ridiculous. He flew Braniff Airlines. Remember Braniff? One of their last flights, and guess who paid for it? Sarcastic and a little uncomfortable with the truth.
Dramatic exaggeration is what he called it. But it was never for a mean or malicious end.
We had theater in Dallas. He was very disdainful of it.
He could be a terrible snob, too.
He was barely 18 when he left Texas to come to New York. That's way too young to come to a city like New York.
Well, as a young gay man, he didn't feel comfortable where he was.
Andre wasn't gay when he came to New York.
Okay.
He wasn't. He came to New York to become an actor. That's a beautiful fire.
It's a gas fireplace, though. Logs are some sort of ceramic material.
They look very realistic.
It doesn't give out much heat.
I can feel it.
Well, if you're interested, I could turn it
No,
down.
thank you.
I suppose air conditioning is more of a necessity where you are.
Oh, we get our cold spells. Northers, we call them blue northers. They sweep down from the Great Plains. Some of them can be quite merciless.
I wish you'd call me Cal.
All right. If you insist, Cal.
Thank you. And I'd like to call you Catherine.
That's my name.
Well, that's settled.
It's only taken us 20 years. Is it warm in here? I really just stopped by to give it to you.
Let me take your coat.
I need to be going. It's late. What? All right, if you insist. Don't let the label fool you. It says Neiman Marcus, but it came from a secondhand fur shop. My husband about had a heart attack when he saw it. I had to show him the receipt to prove I didn't bankrupt him. He was such a Scrooge when it came to money. I hope Andre kept his sense of humor about money. He got it from me.
He always said he was more like you than Mr. Gerard.
He was, but he would have been furious if I had said that. I always thought one of the great tragedies of his life was that he and his father were never close.
One of the tragedies?
Maybe he'd still be alive today.
I didn't kill Andre, Mrs. Gerard.
I didn't say
I didn't give him
that.
AIDS.
I didn't. The way he chose to live his life
It wasn't a choice.
everything is a choice.
And I didn't make him gay.
Someone did? I hate that word. It used to mean something nice, something joyful. A good time was had by all. Lost that battle too.
Say you've lost every battle.
But one, I don't have to approve.
No, I suppose you don't. Excuse me, I'll be right back.
Where are you going now? No more surprises.
There's something else you need to look at.
Were you always this stubborn? You met your match in Andre. He'd get a hold of an idea and wouldn't let go of it. Before acting, he wanted to be a dancer. When he was a child, we took him to see a musical, Pal Joey. He couldn't possibly have understood what it was about, but for the next year, he was tapping and jeting all over Dallas.
I've had this box of odds and ends for a couple of years. We just threw everything in it.
Oh, I'm supposed to go through all of that?
I'm sure you'll find something you'll want.
I knew coming here was a mistake. I don't need things to add to the heap. I'm trying to downsize. Closets in new buildings are merciless for their space.
Excuse me, we're not expecting anybody.
You weren't expecting me either. Maybe it's your sister. I liked her the one time we met.
Yes, Louis, what is it? I have company. Well, if it's a delivery, you can just give it to Will when they come. Will? What's wrong? Again? All right, I'll be right down. Will left without his keys, and our doorman is on a break. I'll be right back.
I won't steal anything. Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. Huh. Still there. Of course it's still there, Catherine. It's a beach. Beaches don't go anywhere. Whew. A man in a bathing suit like that in Dallas would be arrested. He was so beautiful. A woman? How did you get in there, sweetie? Oh, another one. Oh my God, it's me. You're too bad looking, Catherine. I must have been pregnant with him in this. Who knew he had these? Oh. Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Andre's mother. Who are you?
I'm Bud. I live here. Who's Andre?
An old friend of your father's,
Pop Pop?
Mr. Porter.
Is your friend a Pappy's too?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Is Bud giving you the third degree, Mrs. Gerard? I'm sorry, he's always been very inquisitive. There's never been a question he hasn't asked. Hi, I'm Will Ogden.
Where is he?
Who?
Andre.
I'm afraid he's passed, honey.
Past? What does past mean? Past?
Andre's dead.
Why did you say so?
It's another way of saying it.
Dead's better.
Excuse how we look, Mrs. Gerard. Everything's turning to mush. Our hopes for a white Christmas are fading. We may have to settle for a gray, slushy one. We can't keep this one off the swings no matter how cold it gets.
We think he might have some Eskimo in him.
Bud and I know you mean Inuit, don't we, darling?
What's Eskimo?
I'm sorry, it's a thing between us. You're right, mea culpa, my bad.
Cal didn't tell us we were expecting company today.
Well, he didn't know. It's an impromptu visit. I should have called first.
Nonsense, you're more than welcome.
Honey, you want some help with your boots?
That's okay. We saw my teacher that before.
So, what brings you to New York?
Well, nothing really, nothing specific.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to have a reason to stick the apple.
Well, actually, I'm headed to Europe. I'm spending Christmas Eve in Rome.
Are you Catholic?
No, do I need to be Catholic to spend Christmas Eve in Rome?
You'll love Rome at Christmas. It's magical. I spent my junior year abroad there. Trastevere is fantastic this time of year. Too many tourists miss it.
Trastevere?
It's the neighborhood across the river in Rome. Trastevere, it means across the Tiber. I lived in a building built in the 14th century. No hot water, no private bath, but a view of a 12th century convent. Trastevere where I was young. Trastevere where I would grow enormously fat if I'd stayed even a month longer. I'll get the name for you of the best restaurant in the entire world before you go. You didn't serve Mrs. Gerard anything, Cal.
I offered several times.
And I declined several times.
But this time you'll have a what, Mrs. Gerard? I hope you're not a martini sort of woman because I don't have the slightest idea how to make one.
I can make one. I think we have some gin.
Oh no, my martini days are behind me. Scotch neat, I wouldn't say no to.
Yours?
That was Andre's scotch of choice. What are you gentlemen having?
Oh, Cal doesn't drink.
One too many martinis of my own.
And I never did.
Oh, well, you're no fun, either one of you. Hey, bud, you want to tie one on with an old woman?
What's your name?
Catherine,
What's your grown-up name?
Mrs. Gerard.
Where's Mr. Gerard?
He passed too,
He died
like Andre. Yes, he died a few months ago.
what happened to him?
Mr. Gerard had cancer,
What kind?
lung cancer.
My friend Elber's mother has cancer. She has tubes in her nose and she talks funny.
Okay, that's enough, Bud. Let Mrs. Gerard enjoy her drink.
Suddenly I need it. Thank you, Mr. Oswald.
Ogden. Cheers.
Cheers.
How did your little boy die?
Well, that's a long, complicated story.
Bud knows what AIDS is.
We learned at school. When did your little boy die?
That's enough, Bud. I'm sorry, Mrs. Gerard.
Don't apologize for him, he has questions.
Andre died March 29th, 1994,
That was a long time ago.
20 years ago. He was 29. How old are you?
How old are you?
Older than you.
Okay, young man, that's enough.
Did he die from AIDS?
We're not sure.
At school, we saw a documentary about the quilt of World AIDS Day.
The quilt?
It has everybody's name that died from AIDS.
On a quilt?
Andre's name is on
His full name?
it. It was important to me.
His first and last name?
I didn't think I needed your permission.
I'm sorry your little boy died.
So am I.
You can be my grandmother. I don't have one. I have lots of aunts and uncles and godfathers and mothers, but I don't have a grandmother. I only have a grandfather, but he lives in New Vermont, and he can't hear very good.
Grandpa lives in New Hampshire.
You don't know me well enough to be your grandmother.
I didn't know any of them either. The family just grew. I don't even like some of them.
You might not like me either.
I like you. You're cool.
I like you too.
I warn you, Mrs. Gerard, he doesn't take no for an answer.
Is there a little girl's room?
Of course. Right through here. You'll watch you step it up. And the door might stick, but it's right there. Hopefully just-
Little girl's room? Did I hear right? Does anyone still say little girl's room?
You make her nervous.
She makes you nervous. Eskimo, where did that come from?
I didn't think she'd know what Inuit meant.
She probably doesn't, but that's beside the point. I mean, who did you tell her Bud and I were? Your roommates?
Very funny.
Jesus, Cal, you should have warned us.
I told you in the elevator. She just stopped by.
People live in New York so other people don't just stop by. People move here just so other people don't stop by.
What was I supposed to do? Tell her she couldn't come up?
We have plans, family plans.
It's not going to change.
Oh, all these years you told me what a monster she was. You made her up into this gorgon of mythological proportions, and she just shows up.
I assumed we would never see each other again. I even wondered if she were still alive. She literally is the last person I expected to show up on our doorstep.
What do you want me to do?
She just lost her husband. Try to be nice to her.
I can promise civil, but not nice. She wouldn't even take my hand when I gave it to her.
Are you fighting?
No, we are expressing dismay at an unforeseen turn of events.
What does that even mean?
It means we didn't know Mrs. Gerard would be stopping by.
I like her. She's nice.
She's very nice.
Mrs. Gerard's son and Pop Pop used to live together.
Like you and Pop Pop live together?
They weren't married.
We didn't have a wonderful son like you.
Why not?
People didn't do that then.
They couldn't.
Why not?
Well, the world wasn't ready for the three of us. We were waiting for you.
And we're very glad we did.
Okay, are we still going to trim the tree tonight?
Absolutely. After dinner, we're going to put our pajamas on and we are going to make that tree amazing. You are in charge of icicles.
What are we having tonight?
Ooh, spaghetti alla vongole!
I also celebrate the holidays, but with your spaghetti on that note.
What is she doing in there?
Hasn't been that long.
She's going through the medicine cabinet.
I don't be ridiculous.
Of course she is. It's human nature.
What's human nature?
But how people are, whether they can help it or not. Your human nature is that you are going to take a bath. Pop Pop's human nature is that he's nice to everyone, even those who disapprove of him. And my human nature is that I'm naive enough to think I might have finally heard the last of Andre.
This is not about Andre.
I think I've dealt with a man I never met. Pretty
You
goddamn well.
have from the very beginning.
I wasn't going to live with a ghost.
You didn't have to.
I did not sign up for his mother.
What was I supposed to do?
Not let her into our home.
You're fighting.
No, we're not. Hey, those are not for you, bud. Go make Spider-Man beat up for her.
No, Andre was everything you ever wanted, and he was a wonderful man.
Yes, he was. Then I found you. You know how much I adore you.
Yes, but she's not staying for dinner.
Did you get a haircut?
Last week, don't change the subject.
I am so glad that we are married. Are you?
Over the moon. The divorce is going to be spectacular.
Not even funny. I cannot imagine what my life would be like without you.
Me either.
The wallpaper in there is very bold. Who's the decorator?
Cal,
Well,
I'm not very good at decorating myself.
come on, Junior, let's get you in the tub.
Are you going to be here when I come back?
Probably not.
Goodbye.
Bye.
It was nice meeting you, Mrs. Gerard. Say hello to Rome for me.
You forgot my restaurant.
I'll get it for you.
It's all right. Idle promises if we had a dime for every one of them.
I'll be sure he does.
Your little boy is very self-assured and, I would say, very intelligent.
Yeah, we're very lucky. He has his terrorist side, of course. It's not all fun and games. Someone should have told us. Of course they did, but we aren't very good at hearing when we really want to do something.
Is he a good father?
Yeah, Bud couldn't ask for a better one. I think it's generational. I never expected to be a father. He never expected not to be one. He made it clear very early in the relationship that he wanted a family. I almost bolted.
Why didn't you?
I was afraid he'd leave me. Either way, I was afraid. But now, to imagine my life without them, I don't think I know who I fully was until our son was born. I'm so much more than I thought I was. More generous, more interesting, more resourceful, maybe more or less self-serving. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just more self-deluded and haven't changed at all. You find anything you like?
I haven't really looked.
That's his first review. It's not very good. I don't know why he saved it.
I sent it to him.
Why?
I was proud of him. I didn't care what the critics said.
That's us in Paris.
American men should not wear berets. makes them look desperate.
Yes.
To be something they're not.
What would that be?
French.
Well, we grew out of our beret phase pretty quickly. They made their last appearance one Halloween when we went as Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, too interesting. Our friends thought we were Yves Montand and Simone Signoret.
Who went to Sartre?
Andre, I was Simone.
Is there a picture in here somewhere?
I don't know. They're all mixed up. He used to just toss everything in there. I told him he needed an album, a scrapbook.
Well, if I find something I like, I hope you're not going to be an Indian giver and take it back. Oh. Was that politically incorrect, Indian giver?
Yes. But your secret is safe with me. Just as I hope my Eskimo is safe with you.
I don't understand.
Now, I should have said Inuit, but I didn't think you'd know what it meant.
Living in Dallas hasn't made me a complete Neanderthal.
No. Will was right to call me on it, especially for the bud. We set standards for him, which means absolutely nothing unless you maintain them 24/7. And I still slip on words like Madam Chairman. Comes so naturally to his generation. I still have to work at it. I expect you do too.
Where was this one taken?
Nantucket.
Oh, very la-ti-da.
Parts of Nantucket maybe, but definitely not that one. We rented an apartment behind a dry cleaners for 2 weeks.
Yeah. When you come from Port Chester, every part of Nantucket is extremely la-ti-da.
I thought you were from Rye.
Oh, well, they're cheek by jowl, interchangeable, really.
Andre said you used to tell everyone in Texas that you were from Rye, New York.
Until just now, I thought that was our little secret.
He thought it was funny. He'd say, as if anyone in Texas knows the difference between Port Chester and Rye, Cal.
I do. You did.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad it amuses you. I wonder what other secrets he shared with you.
I'm sure that was the only one. He was never disrespectful of you,
I guess I should be grateful for small blessings.
even when you didn't come.
Who are these people?
I think that is... Ah, yeah, some of Will's family.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. I've lost track of how many uncles and aunts and nieces and nephews and first and second cousins he has. Hardly a month goes by without a graduation or a recital or contribution to a tooth fairy. Yeah, I sometimes think of my life measured in Ogden gatherings. I always wanted a big family, just me and my sister growing up, but I never thought it was possible. And then all at once, I had an enormous one. And then Will and I were starting one of our own. Here, I'll take them. I don't know how they got in there.
I came from a small family too. Too small. I was an only child. My husband was an only child. Andre was an only child. Christmas Eve, we'd sit around looking at one another. Presents were opened by 10. We'd end up watching midnight mass from St. Patrick's just for something to do.
No wonder Andre always wanted to turn it on.
Let me finish, Mr. Porter, please. And then one day, you called to tell me that Andre was gone. I almost didn't pick up. I think I knew. And it was just the two of us. And then Mr. Gerard up and dies. And there was one. I said up and dies. Nobody just up and dies. He'd been sick for years. We both knew it was coming, but when it does,
Yes.
so it was just me, and soon enough there will be none. the end of the line. No more where the Gerards came from. It's really quite sad when you think about it. Of course, you and Mr. Ogden don't need to worry about that, do you?
That's not why Will and I chose to be a family.
Isn't it?
I told you why.
Not really. Who is this?
That is a friend of Andre's. His name is Jeb. He's an actor too. They met doing summer stock in the Berkshires. Will and I chose to have a family because we wanted to share the happiness we felt as a couple with a child, as well as the good fortune and privilege we enjoy.
I'm sure there are a lot of unfortunate children out there that would appreciate the advantages of what you call your privilege and good fortune.
We didn't want to adopt.
I'm not criticizing. This Jeff, was he a lover?
First summer, Andre said it was more of a fling than a relationship. It was before me, of course. They stayed friends. I think you met him at the memorial.
And he's not the one that gave Andre AIDS?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you know who did?
I don't know.
You don't know? What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Did you ask him?
No. I thought about it. I thought about it quite a lot. I made myself sick thinking about it.
I would have asked him and he would have told me.
Did it ever occur to you that maybe he didn't know? It could have been any one of us. We were all suspect. I had myself tested once a month just in case.
In case of what?
I don't know, just in case. I had to be sure for me, for Andre.
I would have found out who gave Andre AIDS and killed him.
We didn't do that.
Maybe you should have.
I fantasized about it.
I would have made it my business to.
I had my suspicions,
Suspicions?
but that's all they were. No, not even that.
You never did anything about it?
I was in too much pain of my own. Andre was dying, and I couldn't save him. Everyone was dying. I couldn't save any of them. Nothing could. Something was killing us, something ugly. Everyone talked about it, but no one did anything. What would killing one another have accomplished? There was so much fear and anger in the face of so much death, and no one was helping us. It wasn't time for hate. No, I had to learn to help each other. Help each other in ways that we never had before. It's the first time I've ever felt part of something, a community. So, thank you for that, I suppose. I wanted to kill the world when Andre was diagnosed, but I took care of him instead. I bathed him, I cleaned him up, told him I loved him even when he was ashamed of what this disease had done to him. He wasn't beautiful when he died, Mrs. Gerard. Our very own scourge took care of that. Andre had slept with someone other than me, but I had to forgive him. He was one of the unlucky ones. I'm not saying your son was promiscuous, Mrs. Gerard.
I'm sure he wasn't.
But he wasn't faithful either. Monogamous. Of course, we'd never taken marriage vows. We weren't allowed to. It wasn't even a possibility. Relationships like mine and Andre's weren't supposed to last. We didn't deserve the dignity of marriage. that's why AIDS happened.
I remember this place, don't tell me. We went here on a field trip with my class.
It's
as a young
Independence
girl.
Hall in
I
Philadelphia.
told you not to tell me.
Actually, Andre put me at risk.
There's a man without any clothes.
We
Don't
wouldn't
tell
be
me I'm
doing
going to
this.
find my son in the Altogether in
Did
here.
you hear what I said?
Yes. They're all so young. So young.
I'm sorry I told you. I don't think he could help himself.
I like this picture. I always liked him in a jacket and tie.
Which was almost never. We must have been going somewhere fancy.
May I take this?
Take as many as you want. We're the only two people in the world that mean anything to.
Thank you. I like this one too, may I?
Of course.
What's that? Oh, Papa, Papa!
Now he's got his snorkel on and his, oh, actually he wants you.
We have company.
Papa!
Cal's Pop Pop and I'm Pappy.
Oh, like Lil Abner.
Like who?
Nobody remembers Lil Abner.
I do. What's wrong?
You bought the wrong bubbles.
Papa!
Excuse me. I'll be right back.
Papa!
Give him those fucking bubbles. All right, I'm coming, honey. Hold your scuba dive gear.
I don't think that's appropriate language when a child might be present.
What, honey? Oh, fucking! Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Our one hard and fast is not in front of the Bambino. Honey still manages to turn a few heads when we use it in public. We're out of paper towel, honey, aisle 7. Of course, they're just words. The sight of two men hand in hand with a child waiting for the light to change on Central Park West rattles an occasional cage. We dads still merit more than a passing glance, even in the metropolis known as Manhattan. Let me refresh your drink.
Well, no, I actually need to be leaving.
Cal will blame me if you're not here when he comes out.
Have you thought about what you're going to tell the boy when he asks? And he is going to ask.
Ask what? The boy? You mean Bud? Ask what?
Who he is, where he came from.
We're dealing with it little by little, one day at a time.
I wonder
Wonder what?
if that's going to be enough.
We're going to be fine.
You're very confident.
So are you.
How did you two gentlemen meet?
First of all, thank you for not saying boys.
Obviously, you're not, either one of you.
I'm serious. Do either of you boys have plans for the holidays, or either of you going home for them? You'd be surprised how often we hear boys, so thank you.
Well, clearly there's an age difference.
15 years. I was born in
Oh,
19...
you spare me the math.
Prickly.
Mr. Porter and Andre were the same age.
I never pass up a chance to remind Cal that I'm older, or that he's older than me. I'm waiting for the day he comes home with a piercing and a tattoo. Should I alert you when I'm bantering?
You have a beautiful place.
Thank you. We like it. It could use some remodeling, but we've decided to let Bud play his havoc with it for a few more years before we get serious about redecorating.
I understand you're a writer. I still don't understand what Mr. Porter does for a living.
Neither do I. Something about money, managing it, other people's, and lots of it. Bud and I are very well provided for. He's at a great school, and I'm home all day working on my novel when I'm not doing one of the million things that parents do. That's what I am, a novelist.
Would you have written a novel that I might have read?
Yes, but not yet.
You are confident.
Not really. I I published a few of my short stories. Do you read The New Yorker?
I'm a subscriber. I like to keep up.
They published one of my short stories last summer. It's called Diamond Head. It had nothing to do with Hawaii. It took place in a 24-hour diner in Brooklyn called Diamond Head. The room was very alienated. It was pretty depressing.
I generally don't read the fiction anymore. I stopped after Salinger.
Wow, that was before I was born. Anyway, the books are sort of a jumping off point or the short story is sort of a jumping off point for my novel. That's what my agent calls them anyway. It'll be my first.
Does it have a title?
Yes, but I'm not telling you. It's bad luck.
The world loves a good novel. We're still waiting for the great American one.
Try my best.
What's that, Papa?
Oh!
Are you two okay in there?
I thought writers liked quiet concentration.
They do, but they're in short supply with a 6-year-old. Everyone told us we would need a nanny for Bud, so we tried it. But it turns out we like doing everything ourselves, so we let her go. The great American novel can wait. Who knows? Maybe I'll find a way before then. Anyway, to answer your question, Cal and I met online.
I don't understand.
The internet?
Oh, I'm in the complete dark when it comes to the internets.
It's how people meet now. You go to a website, there's something for everyone. Christian couples, foxy ladies, Mormon, you name it. It's not very romantic, but it gets the job done. Anyway, I saw Cal's picture and read his profile. It said his favorite book was Moby Dick. I'm a sucker for men who love Melville every time, especially men who look like Cal, whose favorite singer is Ella Fitzgerald too. Anyway, 30 minutes later, we met at Gray's Papaya on Broadway and West 72nd Street, a place even less romantic than Manhunt. He was eating a hot dog. Even from behind, I could tell it was him with his back turned, so I went up to the counter, ordered, took a deep breath, and turned to this perfect stranger and said, "Call me Ishmael." Cal doesn't believe in love at first sight. He thinks it takes time. I think it's all in the first time you look into each other's eyes. If they're not looking back at you, it's not going to happen.
Is one of you the father?
We both are.
No, I meant the actual father.
We both are.
Everything I say is inappropriate.
It's uninformed. What do you want to know?
I'm simply trying to determine if one of you is the biological father.
We used my sperm. We thought it would be healthier, me being younger, and the egg of an anonymous donor. After the magic of the embryo happened to the petri dish, our lesbian friend Roberta carried Bud to term. Only we didn't know he was going to be a son yet. Cal wanted to be surprised. I couldn't wait. I was into the whole baby thing from day one. The doctors, the tests, the procedures, the sonograms, the waiting rooms, the other parents-to-be, gay and straight. I was a gay man, and I was going to be a father. I wanted to tell everybody, and I probably did. I am a gay man, and I am going to be a father. It's just so joyful being a parent. Sometimes I look at Bud and I just start crying, and sometimes he catches me and, "Pappy, what's the matter?" "Nothing, honey. I am just so glad you were here."
So there's really nothing of Andre in him, is there?
Why would there be?
Of course, what a foolish thing to say.
Well, he's got his goggles on, and he is now trying to see how long he can hold his breath underwater. We found the right bubbles. Et toi de Paris.
Who gave him that stuff anyway? Which one of his fairy godfathers? Jeremy. Oh, we're raising Bud to be gay. That's our one expectation. God forbid he should be what he wants to be.
Will is joking, of course. We are not raising him anything.
Andre loved bubble baths.
So there you go.
Will?
What are you doing here? Mrs. Gerard, what do you want? I think it's getting suspiciously quiet in that bathroom. I'm turning into my mother.
Thought only women turned into their mothers.
Men are getting very good at it too. Don't let me forget to give you the name of that restaurant.
Everyone adored my mother, especially Andre.
Andre tried to communicate with you.
No, he didn't. He led his secret, furtive life up here and kept his father and me in the dark, thinking he was fooling us. His father, maybe, but not me. I knew. I always knew.
Well, your disapproval frightened him. It's making me sick to my stomach all over again. You haven't changed.
People don't change. That's the lie we tell ourselves.
People have to want to change.
Maybe that's it.
No, that's honest.
Coming here was a bad idea. I could have just as easily have sent that to you.
I'm not even sure I want it. He would have killed me for sending it to you. He didn't think people kept diaries for other people to read.
That is a popular opinion.
He thought people needed someplace safe. Safe from everyone else.
I've sat with it for hours, holding it, pressing it to my heart, but never opening it.
I never could either. When he was alive or when he was gone.
You should have destroyed it.
I couldn't. I didn't have that right. I still don't. I loved him, but I didn't want to know his secrets.
So you sent them on to me.
I always wondered if they would somehow find their way back to me.
Only if I brought them.
I thought this day might come.
We both did.
I guess I've been expecting
I almost didn't come this time either.
you.
First trip to New York, I hung up when you answered. And I don't talk to answering machines. Another trip, someone else answered.
Will, probably.
I found out what I wanted to know. You weren't alone anymore.
I was alone for 8 years. 8 shitty years when all I learned was how to make money.
And then there was Moby Dick and Papaya House.
He told you.
The gist, just the gist.
Now, I've always been embarrassed about Will. Not his age thing. I worry about the difference more than he does. He knows what he got himself into. It always seemed like a betrayal of Andre. Of us. Even after 8 years. How much could I have loved Andre if I can love Will the way I do now?
Yes, how can you?
I don't know. I don't pretend to understand these things. I honestly think Andre sent Will.
I wish he would do the same for his mother.
Would you let him?
I don't know how my life turned out like this. I don't know what to think or feel anymore. I'm frightened, I'm confused, I'm angry at just about anything. I could let that ottoman put me into a rage. Thank God for Jeopardy. And even that's starting to annoy me. I started quiz. I started taking the bus, Mr. Porter, wherever I go, just because it takes longer than if I were to drive myself. It's usually late, which makes me angrier. People like me don't take the bus, Mr. Porter. Buses are for help. And then, whenever I get to wherever it is I'm going, I can't bring myself to leave wherever it is I've gone.
I noticed that.
I really have thought of taking my own life. I'm a widow. My only child has predeceased me. No grandchildren. I don't like most people, and I think it's pretty safe to say most people don't like me. I'm not a joiner. My eyes are going, so reading is hard. I've never liked cooking. I used to dread meal times. Now I detest them. I could go on. So does it really matter if I draw another breath?
It's a very poor solution, Mrs. Gerard.
It's a good thing you're not a therapist. A woman on TV drank a bottle of Clorox. It didn't work. They rescued her. Go to all that trouble to kill yourself and they rescue you. Huh? I thought it was funny. It's a stupid show. They're all stupid.
Have you ever been in therapy?
The whole notion of spilling your guts to a total stranger and then paying them for the privilege? What? You're going to charge me for that? I don't know why I told you any of this. Just forget I said anything. How about them Yankees?
Andre thought of suicide when things got really bad. I'm very glad he didn't. I know that was selfish of me. We stuck it out together. Some together. They put him through hell trying to keep him alive. Some of the treatments were unbearably painful. You don't want to know. They were trying to find a cure and they didn't care how they went about it. That's not fair. They were desperate to find one. Time wasn't on our side. One of our best friends was diagnosed 18 years ago, 2 years after Andre died. He's skiing in Park City as we speak. Today, Andre would still be alive. We probably wouldn't have a child. There might be a Tony Award on the mantle. He was good. He was really, really good, Mrs. Gerard. You should have come up that summer and played Hamlet. We would just be celebrating our 25th anniversary and doing our best to grow old gracefully together. I don't know what else to tell you, Mrs. Gerard. I wasn't expecting this. This was just going to be another day.
Are you ever afraid of forgetting him?
A little bit, sure. But not the best part of him. I panic sometimes that I can't remember the color of his eyes.
Gray.
Now he's got a snorkel on and is practicing his dead man's pose. So if you'll go back there, don't have a heart attack, find him like that. Look, I found the name of that restaurant. It's called Il Gatto Bianco, the White Cat. It's just off the Piazza. Sorry, am I interrupting?
Your husband was just telling me what he thinks of me.
That's not true.
What is that?
That I'm a terrible one. Men are noble, good. Men are to be loved. Women, especially mothers, are evil, cunning, vile even. Pity the young man that has a mother such as Andre's. He is doomed to a life of AIDS.
This is unspeakable. I thought you had let Andre go, that some part of you had accepted our loss.
It will never be our loss. You lost a man and quickly found other men. I lost a son.
I'm sorry. I will always be sorry.
Not good enough. This a fancy apartment, the two of you. A son who will no doubt grow up to cure cancer and take the men's title at Wimbledon. Any mother would be proud to have a son like that. I think I'll order myself another one. How much do they cost? What other tangible evidence of happiness haven't you shown me yet? Why did your life get better after Andre's and mine got worse? Why haven't you been punished?
I can't help you, Mrs. Gerard.
Talk to her, Cal.
Bud, are you in there? I'm gonna turn into a prune.
I know we can't understand your loss, Mrs. Gerard, but we are trying to respect it. If anything had happened to me before my mother died, I always thought she was worried that it would. So were a lot of parents. Loss is a terrible word.
I know what loss
Then
means.
try to respect Cal's. He lost more than your son. He lost a generation. People who might have mattered. Hamlets, Nereids, Melvilles, and Whitmans, young men who wanted to write the great American novel too.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I think people like Cal have been punished enough, Mrs. Gerard. I try to imagine what life was like for him and Cal, for Cal and Andre, and I don't get very far. Maybe I don't want to. The mind shuts down, or the capacity to care. That's one way of dealing with it.
I don't have that luxury.
Of course you don't. And neither does Cal. What happened to gay men in the final decades of the 20th century? First, it will be a chapter in a history book, and then a paragraph, and then a footnote. People will shake their heads and say, oh, how terrible, what a sad thing. It's already started to happen. I can feel it happening. All the raw edges of pain, dulled, deadened, and drained away.
I know what I did wrong. I didn't go out and find another Andre just as soon as I could.
I'm not another Andre, Mrs. Gerard.
No one knows that better than I. It's presumptuous of you to even think you could take his place.
Cal didn't want another Andre.
There is no other Andre. There's only mine, and he is gone forever, and I will mourn him forever. I don't want closure or peace. Closure, another word I detest. I want revenge. I'm Hamlet. Take my picture. I'm my own poster. Vengeance.
You won't find it here.
Then where?
I don't know, but not our home.
This isn't a home. It's an apartment. I hate it when people call their apartments
You
homes.
say hate a lot.
I dislike imprecision. You're a writer, so should you.
Well, I said he could stay another 5 minutes. We don't have a child, we have a fish.
I still want to know what you're going to tell him when he outgrows bathtubs.
I already told you.
Easier said than done, Mr.
Ogden.
Ogden. Easier said than done.
What's this? AG?
It's a diary that Andre kept, a journal. I sent it to Mrs. Gerard quite a few years ago, and now she is returning it to me.
I gave it to Andre on his 18th birthday.
I didn't know that.
He hated the initials on the cover. He thought they were tacky. I thought they were classy. AG. It's the last trace of him that he ever existed.
There's not a day that goes by I don't think of him.
And how does that make Mr. Porter's second husband feel?
I'm Cal's first husband. I like precision too.
I stand corrected.
I'm glad that Cal had a good relationship before he met me. If you're asking if I'm jealous, I am a little bit. Cal and I never got to be young together. I never get to see him screw things up the way he sees me screw things up. He was all evolved and perfect and his own man by the time I met him. And I think that Andre had a lot to do with that.
He did.
What are you doing? Aren't you curious? Fourth of July weekend, the Pines. Parker lent us his house while he's on jury duty.
What are the Pines?
Community on Fire Island.
A gay community. Who's us?
I don't know.
Who's Parker?
I don't know.
I'm sure I'm in there somewhere. It won't be flattering.
I told my mother I was on the Cape, as if she knew what the Pines were, let alone Fire Island. The Pines is the new Port Chester. Lord, what fools we mortals be.
I told you so.
It's a beautiful day. Enjoy it while it lasts. Rain tomorrow. Right now, the ocean is blue. Perfect surf. I didn't want to get out, but I have to run lines. It's my first Albie. The theater said he's coming. All the way to Providence? Really? And I want to be good. There's a beautiful sailboat way out on the horizon. Parker has great binoculars. Probably on its way to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. Anyway, I'm just breathing and feeling the sun and enjoying the sea breeze and wondering why life can't always be like this. The cute guy in the house next door just came out on his deck again. To be continued. It's been more than 5 minutes. This is between the two of you. Coming, buddy, bud.
Bud likes one of us to dry him after his tub.
Andre liked my mother to dry him after his tub. She'd pick him up and put him up on the toilet seat and take a bath towel and rub it between his legs and go, seesaw. She'd go, seesaw. I didn't approve. I don't think it's proper to touch a child down there. I don't know why I told you that. And no, I don't think Andre became gay because my mother rubbed a bath towel between his legs and said, seesaw, seesaw.
I wasn't going to say that.
No, but you thought that's what I was thinking.
Nothing made Andre gay.
I didn't.
Read from anywhere.
Kansas City, where it hit. The local cricket said I had a lot of promise. He used to call them crickets. Of promise and predicted a bright future. I can't.
He's your son.
Cal bought a Nordic track and is taking lots of vitamins. I think he's scared. We both know I've put him at risk, but we don't talk about it. It's just there, our own elephant in the room. I'm not a bad person, just a very imperfect one. Cal deserved so much better than me. One day we're certain we're going to beat this. The next, I'm dying. Should I go on? Cal is a rock. I'm blessed. My family wouldn't be able to handle it.
I wasn't a rock, but I'm glad you thought so.
Meet the cleanest young man on Central Park West. You clean up pretty well for a little boy, buddy, bud.
I'm not a boy. I'm almost 7. Do you like our apartment? Every Thanksgiving Day parade, Spider-Man is so close to our window, I can almost touch him.
You are lucky you have 2 dads to keep you from falling out the window, young man.
Can I have a cookie?
You know where they are.
Would you like anything, Andre's mother?
No thank you. I'd like you to call me Catherine.
Pappy?
Sure.
I need to be leaving. I need to meet someone.
Who? You already said you didn't know anyone in the big bad city.
Oh, well, the Algonquin Hotel and I are not total strangers. Dorothy Parker Sweet and I have become quite good friends.
Andre, you loved Dorothy Parker.
Who do you think got him reading her?
Our doorman will give you a cab. Unfortunately, now is the worst time for one. They all have their off-duty lights on.
Pappy, back me out!
Oh, wait, I got it. I'm coming.
You should have held me that day in the park. I'd lost Andre too. Instead you made me feel ashamed and unwanted, just as you made Andre feel. We weren't strong then against people like you. You held all the cards. Andre wanted your love all his life, so much he had to pretend he didn't. So did I that day. God forgive me. I wanted you to love me for loving Andre. I wanted to forgive you. I don't anymore. I don't care. If you hadn't done this, I wonder if I would have thought of you ever again. No offense, but I don't think news of your passing is going to make the New York Times, Mrs. Gerard. And then there truly will be none. It is sad when you think about it. But this thing that brought us together, this thing that happened, it still happened. Young men are still falling in love, but some of them are still being infected, and some of them are still dying. If anything like this happened to Bud, or Will, sure, there's that possibility too, I would be devastated. I would not reject either one of them. I am Will's husband, not his judge. I'm Bud's father, not his scourge. If that were my son, wasting, writhing, incoherent, incontinent in that bed in St. Vincent's, I would want him to know how much I loved him. How much I would always love him. I did what I could for Andre. To this day, it was enough. Being a parent has left me quite defenseless. It's a good thing I don't want anything from you anymore. I'll get your coat.
I couldn't hold you because I didn't have my son to hold.
Jesus Christ, woman. Reach out to someone. Let someone in.
There is so much I want to say that has nothing to do with Andre. It's about me. Nobody else but just me, as if I were the only person on the planet. Which is what I have felt most of my life. Oh, there was a mother, a father, a husband. But I still felt all alone. And then there was Andre. He was going to make everything better. He was going to fix it. He didn't even come close. No. When he'd fall down and scrape his knee, I'd soothe him until he stopped crying. And when he was in pain, I was his mother. When he needed me, not unlike what's going on in there. That's not love. Don't mistake that. It's comfort. It's concern. It's not love. I watched Andre give more of himself to our dog than he ever gave to me.
We've all felt that. It's human nature being ridiculous.
It was a dachshund. He was turning gray. Andre tried to dye him with some of my hair color. It didn't work.
That sounds like Andre.
I'm the only one who thought Andre was a difficult child. He was smarter than anybody. He had secrets. I was afraid of him. He could be so remote. I don't know where he'd go in his head. But I wanted him to take me with him, away from Dallas and a husband I didn't love, never even tried to love. He was the unlovable. Some people are, you know. I've turned into one. I would have married anyone who would have taken me out of Port Chester, even if it was across the railroad tracks to Rye. Mr. Gerard wanted to go west, young man. Which is ridiculous because he's not a young man, and Dallas isn't west, it's Dallas. I remain a Yankee. I need 4 seasons. I need to be around people that know what time it is. I don't suffer fools. I was a smart young woman. Thought I'd die with that secret. My father worked at the post office. My mother spent the day ironing and cooking and cleaning. We ate our meals on a table covered in an oilcloth. I took my Port Chester High diploma and went to work for a dentist, Dr. Minnerly. Dr. Payne, his patients called him. He didn't believe in Novocaine. And every week I'd save my money until I had a dress that would get me into the spring formal at the Rye Country Club, where I knew I would meet my Savior. And I did. And I got him to marry me just like that, and I didn't get knocked up to get him to do it like most of my friends. I turned on the charm. I can when I want to. I've given you a glimpse of it. And I always had good legs. I still do. Andre got his legs from me. He had beautiful legs for a man.
Yes, he did.
seconds now, but I thought I did then. Not jealous, content, able to stop jiggling. I'm a nervous woman. I still, to this day, can't cross my legs without jiggling them. Andre used to say, "Mom, you look like a woman in heat when you pump your legs like that." It was so fresh. I wanted to slap it. And then, just like that, he decides he wants to be an actor. So, drama club, acting lessons, music, dancing. I was the chauffeur for all of it. I read a lot of good books in the car waiting for Andre, our gray dachshund, happily drooling in the seat beside me. I got presents. I got thank yous. I got I love yous even. But I never got him. I just never got him. He was supposed to let me love him the way I'd never been loved. I was going to make him happy the way I'd never been. And then he was off to New York, to a life that didn't include me. I was just Andre's mother, the woman who bore him. One time he wrote, he wasn't even much older than your son. He wrote, "God bless the Lord, God bless my mommy, she has good things in the oven."
That's lovely.
I was as much Andre's mother to him as I was to all of his little friends. "Can I have a cookie, Andre's mother?" "You can if you call me Mrs. Gerard." They never did. I wasn't a person to them either. I was just Andre's mother. When Andre was 4, I became pregnant. I had an abortion. I never told anyone. I was waiting for the right time to tell Andre. It was going to be our final secret together.
Andre loved
We all say we love someone. It's words are the bridge we use to cover the void that separates us. Desperate to cling to something. "I love you" is the best we've been able to come up with for pretending it isn't there.
you. I don't agree with you.
Let me finish. Soon Andre was in New York, and then he had a friend who became a roommate, who became
That would be me, Kat.
You took him from me
All
forever.
you had to do was open your heart to him.
I can't. I still can't. I don't know why. Even to this day, I don't know why. It sickens me. It just
the
still
sex?
sickens
Two
me.
men being physically intimate, fucking, sucking, making love, the way things people have always done and will always do?
It's everything. What kind of life is that child going to have?
A better woman, Andres. A better woman, yours.
There's only one thing I ever did to Andre that I'm ashamed of. If he was here right now, I would get down on my knees and tell him how sorry I am. He just moved to New York. It was late. It was very late. I woke him up when I called. "What's the matter, Mom? Are you okay?" I was crying. I was laughing. I'd been drinking. "Hey, what do you think of your mom now? Your mom let a man pick her up at the Adolphus Hotel, and he drove her in his car to the edge of Dallas, and where it was all dark and woody, and he started making love to me. I couldn't do it. I made him take me back to town. He could have been very nasty, but he wasn't. I think he was married too. So, kiddo, what do you think of your old lady now, huh? Somebody still wants to fuck her. He didn't say anything. After a while, one of us hung up. He never mentioned it ever again. I won't ask you if he shared that story.
Thank you.
When his father was in the hospital for the first surgery after his lung cancer diagnosis, I told you there was only one thing, Mr. Porter. I lied. There are two things. Things that can never be taken back. I found Andre in the hospital visitor's room. He was crying. I said, I know why you're crying. You're not crying because of your father. You're crying because of what you are.
I know, Mrs. Gerard. He called me from a payphone immediately after. He was pretty devastated.
Can you imagine saying that to your son, your only child?
I'll get your coat.
Please.
I don't want the journal.
Neither do I. Thank you.
Ta-da! In lieu of martinis, Master Bud Ogden Porter is serving milk and Oreos this evening.
Evening, what time is it?
Oh, honey, your head. Let Pop-Pop see.
Papa fixed it.
Yeah, well, did he kiss it? Make it all better?
That's for little boy.
Of course I did. Is he okay? He's all right. The chair's just a little too wobbly to stand on. I told you this would happen.
Here, I was crying too. These make you feel better. They're Oreos.
Thank you.
Do they have Oreos where you live?
I'm pretty sure they have Oreos everywhere.
You don't have to my grandmother if you don't want to. They're really good, Catherine.
That's enough, bud.
What did you call me?
I'm sorry, you're Andre's mother.
I'm Catherine. Thank you, Bud. That's an excellent Oreo. I think it's the best Oreo I've ever had. Ever.
Aren't you gonna drink your milk?
It's ice cold, just the way it should be. Excellent.
You have a milk mustache.
So do you.
Would you like me